Now, Kerry's reign as league champions is over after Jack O'Connor's men lost to Galway yesterday in round 7 of the Division 1 of the Alliance National League. And I suppose in the end the report card will show that Kerry won 3, lost 4. Kind of a I suppose much like your leaving certs boys, was this? Kind of, you could have done a bit better. So I'm joined here by Liam Brosnan, of course, and John Kennedy, and they're going to delve into the match. And we will talk about the match this week. I suppose last week it took a life of its own last week, John. We headed off and started talking about games and the way it should be played, but we'll go back to what we were good at this week and we'll talk about the game. John, first of all, your own takeaway from the game. A lot of people came out of I suppose Salt Hill yesterday evening feeling fairly positive. I mean, it was a loss, but it wasn't a disastrous loss. We played a little bit of good stuff, a lot of old failings the same way. How did you see it?
Yeah, something similar to that, Donal. I think that, look, it was did Kerry want to get to the league final is a big question. You know, I don't think...
It really depends on what week it was, wasn't it?
Exactly.
We were going and we weren't going with a chance of going, but...
Yeah, exactly. But look, it was a good test. Galway are improving, no doubt. I think they've got a few good young fellas coming in there. Johnny McGrath, Sean Fitzgerald, 2 cornerbacks, did exceptionally well. I think they've a great league campaign. John Maher back in the middle of the field, very impressive. And I think Matthew Tierney and Tom O'Callaghan up front. Tierney's a real find. He's a great guy for kick-outs. He's able to kick a score. And the Comer coming back, it showed that Galway wanted to get to the league final. Because would they have risked Comer if they didn't want to? I don't think they would. It was a good test. You know, we made a few mistakes. I suppose one of the big ones was the goal. Shane Murphy unlucky. He'd have the post, ball end up on the net. A big score really. And then Bernard Power made 2 or 3 great saves. Could have been a different scoreline. But overall, I think, look, a mixed bag in the league. We kept our Division 1 status. We spoke so many weeks here how tight and how competitive it is, really down to the wire yesterday. Look what Monaghan did, the great escape again. 1 point off relegation, but we stayed up. I think that's important, and Jack O'Connor has been saying it for quite a number of weeks now. Being behind, a lot of work to be done. Now we have a 4-week gap, a training trip coming up in Portugal. I think that hopefully that when we see them on the field again, there will be a freshness about them, because quite a number of the lads look lacklustre, look a bit leggy, and it's very difficult to juggle hard running and a block of training and games and to be fresh. But look, we kept our Division 1 status, an improved performance and an improved game as well, Donal. I think it was both teams wanted to go out and play a bit defensive but attacking as well. Some great scores got, and the end of a mixed campaign.
You'll always get that with Galway though.
Well, yeah.
There'll always be more football played when Kerry and Galway play.
Liam, I suppose yesterday when Tom O'Callaghan put that point over in the 20th minute and Galway were 6 points to 2, I won't lie, I thought, my God, it's going to be a bit of a cakewalk for Galway. Well, Kerry knuckled down after it, didn't they?
They did. They took a bit to settle, and I suppose, look, the league is, as we've been saying from the start, win or home games, and I think that's for the same for every county. And Galway were always going to be a tough nut to crack up there, and you could see it. And even after the interviews after the game yesterday, they wanted, and they want to win this final, and Mayo are much the same. Like it's a national title, so you'll have 2 teams going hell for leather. So Galway weren't going to be rolling over easy for us yesterday, and it proved that way. I suppose, look, it was an improved performance by Kerry in ways. It has been a very topsy-turvy kind of a league campaign for us compared to last year. If you ask me now, Donal, this time last year where we win All-Ireland, I'd say, yeah, no bother. I said, we're going well. If you ask me now, I'd be scratching my head, because I still find that we have a lot of improving to do, and I don't know, have we enough time to do it? Have we the players to do it? It's just our structure. We just don't defensively. We're just kind of all over the place at the moment, and I think that's where we started last year. Was our defence was rock solid, and we win from there. But just at the moment, we seem to be under pressure defensively, and then when we're coming out with the ball, we're running into corners. And I know everyone's saying, look, we're behind, and they're blaming the team holiday and all this kind of crack. Like, we're only 16-17 weeks away from an All-Ireland final. We're only 5 weeks away from the start of the championship for us. There's a lot of good teams there. There's teams there that we could end up in a quarter final very quick against a very good team. and you'll be hoping that, and that's what we this time last year we weren't hoping. We knew going into games how good we were, our performances. So in 4 or 5 weeks' time, we're all going to be hoping that we'll see a different Kerry team.
And the round robin is going to make it more difficult.
Yeah.
Do you know, before you won a quarter final, now you have 3 competitive games. Like,
but is that what Kerry needs? I mean, do Kerry need competitive games? Like, Kerry played their best football last year when it was win or burst against Dublin. I mean, all the games when you go into the field and know that you have to win this or you're out.
We had momentum last year, though. Going into big games, we had great momentum.
Did that come with fitness, though?
I mean, came with fitness and confidence. You know, I think confidence, and John probably see with club football as well. When teams are winning, you'll even win poor games, and you'll stumble across lines when you're not playing well. You know, and you could see the weekend. You know, fellas, our confidence isn't there. You know.
But the one thing I'd say is that we weren't ran off any field in any league game.
No.
Any game that we lost, we could have won it as well. You know, we weren't too far behind. We could have got a result in Donegal. We really should have, really. We could have got a result yesterday, bar, I suppose, everybody looking at the one mistake. I mean, at the end of the day, that mistake clears itself up bigger because the score was 2 points at the end. But I mean, there was a lot of other contributing factors to why we lost that yesterday. It wasn't particularly.
You know what's more disappointing, Donal? After the first 2 games, we had to bring back the 2 Cliffords and Shawnee Shea to get the points to keep us up.
Yeah.
Had we those playing above Donegal, we'd have won the 2 points, we'd be in a final maybe. It says, like, you can look at everything and we're behind in training and we had the team holiday and all that, but the conveyor belt coming through, is it as good as what we thought?
Yeah.
Maybe not. And there is a gap. Like,
we are hampered with a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
Injuries was major. Like, I suppose, look, in the other side of it, Barry Dan, Tony and Donal O'Sullivan are probably good finds for us come championship. I thought Stephen O'Cumbar, when he is fit, he is an idiot because his physical presence alone, and he can do a lot of roles through. So hopefully he come back and he can last a full championship season. Be a big addition to us. Now you lost likes of Dan O'Donoghue, Mike Breen, you know, guys like Joe O'Connor was going to be a big man for us this year as well. You know, to add a little bit of a thing around the middle of the field.
These not problems that every county have. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, Armagh have lost Reno O'Neill. I mean, you just have to put what you have out, and I suppose as managers and selectors to make the best that they can do with them. Yeah,
and I suppose, look, the campaigns of Rathmore and the campaigns of Fussa, there was so much probably against the management team, you know, and the New Year holiday and the whole lot thrown in. But we do, and John hit the nail on the head at the very start there, we look leggy, you know, we don't, I know the heavy training, but we don't, there's no bit of freshness. So you'll be hoping in the next 4 or 5 weeks that we get that freshness back, and that'll be the bite.
How is that freshness come about, Liam? I mean, you're 4 weeks in now, you've no more games to play anyway, so there's no more results and there's no more chances of being injured. You could be injured at training course. What's the training focus, would you think, looking in from the outside?
I suppose the training will probably be more sharper now. You know, I suppose they were probably doing a lot of heavy running, a lot of heavy weights and stuff like that. It's all about tapering it up now, the more for quickness and stuff like that. Plus they're going away for a week. I suppose the bonding will be more important than anything else, you know, to get a bit of morale, bit of confidence going again, you know. So the small little things like that, like you said, we didn't lose a whole pile of games by much, and it's percentages, 1 and 2 percentages that get you over the line in big games that you need you know, even if we can get 1%, like there's a saying out there, if we get 1% out of every 15 fellas that start, your team is improved by 15%, you know. So it's just small things, and I think all these little things will help Kerry.
There was one ball yesterday, Donal, a ball out the wing by Paddy Clifford to Shawnee Shea.
That's right, yeah.
He just hadn't the energy to get there. He hadn't that sharpness.
That didn't happen last year.
That didn't happen. Yeah. And that's no fault of his. I think it's where we're at. And I think the legs are just heavy, like Liam said. A lot of heavy work done. That sharpness will come, no doubt.
That ball was reminiscence of a ball that was played to Donal Sutton against Mayo as well, out to the wing, and the ball went over the wing as well. So I suppose, there's a sharpness. Can I take you back to a point about Galway yesterday and watching Galway? Obviously it was at home, obviously they were up against the All-Ireland champions, obviously I suppose that there was a greater need for revenge, and maybe that's why Comer came on to ensure the game was brought home as well. Shane Walsh, our good friend Shane Walsh, 5 points, none from play. I mean, he was held yesterday from general play by a team that we're talking that are 40% behind the gap. That bodes well.
Definitely does, yeah, and it just shows no more than teams that are studying the likes of David Clifford, teams that are doing a lot of homework now in these guys. So that's where the other guys around the place left. Like if there's 3 fellas around David Clifford, where's the 3 open fellas? You know, so and it's the same with Shane Welsh. You know, these guys are going to be heavily marked. So that's where a lot of this homework and probably all these stats and all this data that that everyone's talking about it at the moment. Put that aside. Maybe it's a case of now, lads. We'll look if we can kick 10 balls into David Clifford. If he only wins 3 of them, he'll probably get 3 goals out of it. If we don't kick it into him, we won't get scores. So I think the GPSs and all these put him aside a small bit. Like there's no point giving out to Dara.
Turning into Denny Long, will you?
Yeah. Like there's no point. Like say Dara Moynihan, and I don't know what's happening with Dara Moynihan's head or whoever. If I was wing forward, but if I kick 20 balls into David Clifford, and he only wins 6 of them, am I going to get a sheet on Tuesday night of training telling me that I kicked away 12, 13 balls? Why did I kick 13 balls? But is there a sheet there saying that the 7 balls that I kicked into him, he kicked 1-4, 1-5? No, is that it? But I think players are just afraid to do that little bit extra and take chances, and I think that's across the board in every team.
Yeah. Let's talk about chances. Yeah. Let's talk about chances. 25 minutes gone yesterday, 6 points to 3. Double scores, of course. Galway kind of cantering away. Kerry, Thomas Sullivan kicking off a bad wide, if you can remember that, to the left. Shawnee Shea then, of course, put a wide over. And then Paddy Clifford, after a great hand pass there by Paul Murphy, he put it over 6 points to 3. At that stage, both teams had 9 scoring chances each. Kerry had scored 3 and Galway had scored 6. That's simply sharpness, is it?
I think it is, and in front of goals we missed, uncharacteristically we missed a few chances, Shawnee, Paddy, David, Tony Brosnan, Tom Sullivan.
It tells you or tells me anyway that we created an opportunity to get into a situation where we could score. So that part of the jigsaw isn't broken.
No, but we're doing that all year. Like I just flicked the page there now. Like our shot conversion all year is between 43%, and the highest was against Monaghan actually at 68%. All last year we were up in the 60s to the 70s. Like we're most of our games were only in the 50s this year. Yeah. So it's just that little bit of sharpness, probably.
The sharpness that you're just that yard ahead of the guy. You have possession and you're kicking, whereas you're not getting away from him. You're under pressure with your shots. Some of them are blocked down. How many have we had into the goalie? That power isn't there. Like it's just the sharpness.
The one thing that struck me yesterday was when we got up the field, and we got up the field a good bit, Galway seemed to shepherd us quite easily into a corner. I mean, how many times were we out around the corner flag? And before, and obviously it is easier to defend the corner. I mean, you can put 2 fellas and all of a sudden you can't get out. But when Galway came up the field,
the middle,
just straight down the middle, and they seem to have players to the left of them and to the right of them wanting and going straight on again. Why aren't we doing this?
That's going back to my point of not taking a chance. The easy kick, if I'm a half-back or a midfielder, is the one out to the corner for a guy running into, not to pinpoint the one straight down the middle that the guys run into. So I think it's just a lot of that is just confidence. We just don't have the confidence. We were doing them kicks last year. No, we were hitting David Clifford inside the full forward line. We were hitting guys running out. Now it's the easy kick into the corner off the side of the boot, and the corner forward runs into it, and probably, and John, you play corner forward as well, it's the worst place to get a ball because there's nothing you can do with it.
No. But like you look at Galway, where are Galway at in terms of the season? Like, they're in a Connacht Championship in a few weeks' time. We have a different championship to look forward to. We have a month now before our game, whereas Galway, I think, are a good bit ahead of us.
Oh yeah,
they're sharper, they look fresher yesterday. I think maybe a lot of their hard work was done a number of weeks ago, because the Sean Kellys and the Conroys and these guys, Tierney's, they're moving very freely. Their mobility. Sean Kelly took off yesterday, and a couple of 1-2s, and he was gone straight through. Shane Welsh, they're all fresh and they're sharp.
But why are they fresher? I mean, if you think about it, they got to the All-Ireland final the same date that we did. I presume they all played their current championship like we did later on. They seem to be a good bit fresher, obviously. I mean, they probably have bigger players that, obviously, Tierney and we'll say they found a few extra players as well, where we're looking at our strength and depth, and we're probably maybe scratching our heads now saying maybe we don't have the strength and depth that we thought we had, because we have an awful lot of players playing yesterday that played in the All-Ireland final, where they had a couple that were above average that didn't play.
Yeah.
like you've Cillian McDade and the goalie Conor Gleeson to come in. Damien Coleman only made a cameo appearance, so like they certainly have got a few, you know. And I think that Ian Burke from Corofin, he'll be coming into the panel. They certainly have. But look,
they're just playing a better structure. Yeah. You know, it's going back to what we had. Like we had a structure last year. We have no structure. When we turn the ball over now at the moment, we're kind of we have no kind of between our half forward line, midfield, and half back line. There's no out ball. There's not a kind of way, and we go so far then and we kick it into the corner.
And I think, Donald, we've said it a few times. David Moran's loss,
massive.
You know, it's not what he did. His positional sense. He was in front of Tig Morley. Morley was in front of Jason Foley. Solid defence.
Well, we might chat about that after the break, of course, and we'll continue discussion about the game. A couple of comments coming in if you want to shout out. 0667123666 or text us there on 083 300 3300. We have a couple of course coming in already. Donal, Kerry been below par all league. It's the support. If the supporters know it, then the players know it and the management know it as well. Now it's time to park that and prepare for the only championship that matters, and hopefully our stars will perform as good as they should. It's an interesting comment, really, and I suppose we'll discuss it more. If supporters know it, players know it. John, you know from playing yourself, there's days you go home and you say, God, that was pretty average, or that was pretty poor, or players know themselves.
Yeah. When you're playing well, Donal, you know it, but you equally you know it when you're not playing well. And you know
does that have a negative impact on you, or do you buy into the
it can get frustrating, and we've seen a bit of frustration from some of our players being booked, you know, not unnecessary really. But look, at the end of the day, I think the players and the management know where they're at. They know what they've done, and they know what they have to do. Yeah. And I've no doubt, like your that comment there hit the nail on the head. I think the league is done. We kept our Division 1 status. Now let's get ready.
I was listening to some of the comments in the aftermath of yesterday's game, Donal, saying Kerry played better. In truth, we didn't. We have not played one decent game since the All-Ireland final, and that would worry me most. We haven't really fired, have we, Liam?
Not really. No. That's why we're saying, like, are we completely dependent on David Clifford? No, and if you look back to last year, and like when we all know how good David is, and we spoke, but like at the moment, if teams are marking David, we're under pressure.
Oh yeah,
we're under pressure. Whereas when teams are marking the likes of Shane Welch and these guys, the Ryan O'Neills and Armagh, there's always a couple of more fellas poking their head above the pyramid and stepping up. We need more guys stepping up. Like yesterday, we had only 2 forwards that scored from play. Shawnee Shea in the second half and Paddy Clifford in the first half.
We actually had only 1 forward that scored from play in the first half.
In the first half, with Paddy on,
from play.
Yeah, we've only got 1 forward from each half.
Thank God for midfielders and cornerbacks.
But is that right then as well, that your backs are coming up and
it's probably the structure of the game, the way it's gone, and I suppose the team scores regardless of who scores. There's nearly 40 comments already, so we better start reading a few of them to get them out of the way, I suppose, in that sense. Teams just know to mark David Clifford now. Galway were the first team not to double mark him, but played a sweeper close to him. They all know that's the way the ball will go. It's like what you said earlier, it's route 1 to David or wherever David is, and it probably makes it easier for people to mark, I suppose, in that instance. Kerry had a few goal chances yesterday. What would bother me is that we did not take any of them. Liam, we haven't been really flashing in the goals, have we?
No, I think we've only 3. We got 1-9 against Donegal, 3-14, 1-10. Like, we're not getting the chances that we were getting last year.
Yeah, it's easy for people to have shots at the keeper's mistake, but remember the forwards missed more than half of their efforts, included among them some frees. I suppose that's probably talk about the goal that went in, but it's a fair enough comment. I mean, more than half the chances the forwards got, and I presume when he says forwards, or maybe it's even a she, I suppose it's his team shots more than anything else. But a return of 50%, John, is never going to win a game for you.
No, not at all. No,
at this level,
it's not at this level. And like look, it's unfortunate. It's one of those things with Shane Murphy. It just it was a kind of a freak goal, we'll call it. You know, Paul Connor had a shot, it dropped shot. But look, we had plenty of chances. We had at least 3 goal scoring chances. We had at least 7 or 8 from points from play and frees. Which are, you know, that's the difference. We're not converting them, and it's a trend that has been there throughout the league. Our conversion rate is not high enough to win.
Hello, Donal. Plenty positives from the game. Things are on the way up. Was there any reason for Barry Dan to be taken off 5 minutes after half time. Didn't see the man do anything wrong. That's Jason Crone out there in Cordal.
I think a lot of people were surprised with it.
It was one of the big questions, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, particularly the way that Barry Dan had kind of enforced himself on the game when he'd scored 2 points. He said,
he's thrown himself around.
Yeah, and he's a go-forward type of guy.
Yeah, unless now getting back toward that, as maybe his GPS said that he was wore out and he couldn't do any more. That he ran out, yeah. But to me, I thought it was a big call to take him off, because for if you, like I said, and I've said it here, if you told me to start the year that Barry Dan was going to be one of our main and better midfielders this year,
O'Connor, it wasn't as if you were listening to what we were putting on the field, was it?
You weren't, but you'd have to look at it where the midfielder and see what was he offering you. Would Barry Dan suit it with Diarmuid O'Connor? Would he give you that little power going forward? Because we were just after kind of getting a point, and we were driving forward. So the momentum was up, and next all of a sudden he was called ashore. So you'd be kind of everyone was questioning that.
Yeah, and he did score one of your goals earlier in the campaign as well, and he got his couple of points yesterday.
And he's after a great league campaign.
Yeah, at one stage yesterday went to a 7-5. It was 7 for Galway and 4 for Dingle.
That's right, yeah.
Dingle for the county championship, is it? If they only had a forward,
they're cut in half there now straight away anyway.
Absolutely. Okay, keep going, Donal. Shane Ryan a few weeks ago, Shane Murphy yesterday. Why are our keepers making such crucial mistakes? I suppose just, you make one mistake, it's highlighted and cleared, Liam.
Just goes back to confidence again. It runs through the team. No, that wasn't happening last year because there was such a buzz around, such confidence. This year, when things do, it's like anything, the harder you try, sometimes the worse it can get, and it just seems to be a kind of a thing that's running through the team at the moment.
And if a keeper makes a mistake, there's a goal.
Oh yeah, it's highlighted straight away,
Yeah, lads, don't be fooling anybody. We were second best all day yesterday. Well done, yeah, fair play. We're not fooling anybody. Why was Barry Dan taken off? Yeah, there's a lot. There's an appreciation club certainly set up here. He was having a fine game and may even have scored a goal if Sean O'Shea had passed him after that Jack Barry catch. Yeah, it goes back to the thing that he was really driving forward all the time, much in the John Daly mode and much in that kind of midfield. Galway will go direct forward. Donal, is Dinny serving a match ban? I think he shook the place last week with all his honest views. Yeah, you never know. I don't know, poor Dinny, he's probably not serving no ban at all. David Clifford picked up his 5th yellow card out of 7 games, and I'm sure he didn't play in the first 2. That's probably true. He didn't play in the first 2.
He didn't play in the first 2, no.
Yeah. No. The one thing I would say about that, and people will talk about discipline and the whole lot, Dave is getting a lot more attention than he would have got maybe last year, and fellas pulling and dragging the whole lot, and it's not easy as a player. You have to mind yourself a bit.
Exactly, and some of the yellow cards that we said that they were kind of harsh. And it's very hard for a referee when he's 100 yards away to come back and give David Clifford a yellow card, and maybe like we saw above against Armagh, and 2 fellas hopping off him. It's very hard for any player to take that. So yeah, but he's a big boy. He's well able to look after himself. But yeah, it's in the big games you'll be picking up silly cards like that is when it could cost you.
Mm-hmm. They often question a forward getting a yellow card. Why did he react? And I don't know what he got the card for yesterday. But whatever has happened first, isn't the defender that's poking the forward?
Exactly, yeah.
Not the other way around. So you'd question some of them, and that goes for all forwards.
Would John and Liam know what's the story with Mike Breen and Dan O'Donoghue? Do you want to take one each, or are you going to confer?
Heard nothing about it. Any of the 2 of them. No.
Mike, I think both of them are injured. I think, and I'm not sure where.
They're both of them are injured. Yeah, but I think Stephen O'Brien and Brian O'Bigley are the next 2 closest to coming back. So the boys haven't been mentioned yet.
And it's unfortunate for both of them now, because I think they had potential. They would be pushing for places on the defence.
Yeah.
And it's just. They've been dogged with the last 12 months.
Stay tuned till 7:30, listener. We might even ask the club. They're coming in at 7:30 talking about the club. I suppose it's like all clubs trying to survive and stay alive, I suppose. Hi Donal, good to see a more entertaining game. Kerry have a bit of work to do. Hopefully they will get their act together. Good to see Liam Brosnan back. Dinny Long putting him under pressure for the championship.
Well, you see, I was doing the late show kind of interviews for the thing. With this, and I didn't know much about football, so I lost that job.
The fella that was doing it didn't know much about football either, so you might have a chance. You never know. Hi lads, what sense does it make having the men's and women's Galway versus Kerry matches in different pitches on the same day instead of a double header in Pearse Stadium? Well, they claim it was due to the pitch not being able to make it the 2 matches, and that's Dan in Rathmore. Yeah, interesting enough, of course, both the Kerry ladies and the Kerry men both travelled to Galway, and both games were going on pretty much at the same time. Again, it goes back to separate associations, and that's it until there's some sort of integration. I suppose that's going to happen. There's going to be a bigger one clash than that coming down the line there, Dan, in Rathmore, because the Kerry Camogie team and the Kerry senior ladies team are both
on the same weekend.
On the same weekend, they could.
But I think it's Saturday and Sunday, is it?
Yeah, well, that's what you say, but we'll
start that, Donal.
We'll put a word in there, so Dan will get to watch it. Donal, my God, Croke Park needs to come down on the defensive game. Hard to watch. How can David Clifford play with 3 or 4 belting into him? Easier to watch rugby or soccer. Yeah, it goes back into teams are going to set up now to mark David Clifford. They're, I suppose the pitch is getting smaller, really, and it's just something that I suppose he has to put up with in that sense, really, is it?
Yeah. There'll have to be a rule change done. That's the only way they're going to start it. There'll have to be some sort of a rule change. Getting back, and I know our listeners hate to say basketball again, but I do think that the easiest way out of it is that a team will have to keep 3 or 4 players inside the halfway line at all times.
That's our sport, Liam.
That's exactly. Well, and
it's about basketball.
But this is not a Kerry thing.
No, it's not a Kerry thing.
We're talking about generally now.
Yeah.
You want to see the best players performing, particularly forwards.
And you look at Armagh, really suffered from it, because Armagh came down to Kerry not to win. Yep. And they ended up being relegated. Like, if Armagh go out and play football, they were probably as good as any team in the country. And
it's no coincidence yesterday that McManus came back for Monaghan. His first start, 1-7. Goal from a penalty, 5 points, 2 minutes.
Hold that thought, John. I have a comment that you're going to enjoy. Don't talk about Armagh for a second.
So can we get that rule change put into Congress there that keep 4 players inside the halfway line at all times?
We'll write it down now. Each of our goalkeepers have conceded own goals. Does that affect the confidence of our defenders, Seamus? We kind of discussed it at bottom. Does it affect the confidence of defenders?
It does. It affects the confidence of the goalkeeper, and I mind the defenders.
I suppose that's probably the bigger issue, the goalkeeper confidence. Yeah. Okay. Liam Brosnan was right about one thing a few weeks ago.
Jesus.
Just the one thing only. Was after 17 years, I suppose, one thing the last.
At least I got one thing right.
When he said he thought Monaghan would score goals, I was delighted for them yesterday when they scored 2 against Mayo.
That's right. A few late late, but sure they were. I knew I could see it in them.
You were the fella putting the fright across every Kerry person at half time when Kerry were playing Monaghan.
That's right, but they did look like scoring goals. Only we got the goals. Only we got the 2 goals instead.
It was the 1 goal. Lads, we have 4 weeks of hard work to get through, and hopefully we'll be able to bridge the gap. Loads of people talking up Dublin, but they are only playing Division 2 teams of a lower level. The Dublin thing, I suppose people still looking in the background and looking in the mirror and saying, who's out there. Dublin really are still there, aren't they?
They're still there, and I think the big thing for Dublin, and it is for me, is they're going to be playing at home, Donal. No, they're going to have maybe 50,000-60,000 supporters, and you can ask any player when Dublin play and when things are going right from when the crowd roar, it gives them that extra percentages as well. And we were on about percentages there. It's a big help to them. They have a very good forwards.
Yeah.
Defensively, they're suspect, all right. But
and another thing, Liam, is you can afford in Division 2 to try out
fellas,
with not a full team, because the same competition, while it's competitive, it's a different level. And the one big game I suppose they came up against was Derry.
Yeah.
And they came up short.
I think this weekend will be a big game for them. I think they'll go hell for leather for this one now, just to prove a point to Derry. That'll be an interesting game now the weekend.
It's a real championship game.
That'll be a real championship game, because even Dublin are probably looking at it that it'll probably be one of their one of the only championship games they'll get until they get maybe to the Leinster final.
Okay, we've got through most of the comments. We have a few more to get to. I want to talk about 1984, 1985 maybe later on as well. But first of all, guys, who impressed you yesterday? I mean, we played decent, I would say. Our quality was a little bit better than it was. We were against a team that, I suppose, playing in their back garden, they wanted revenge. They looked a good bit fitter. I mean, they have great players, obviously, Galway. Out of the 15, 3 or 4 names of fellas that kind of said, he played well yesterday, he flew the flag. And I'll take Barry Dan off the cards there for just to save repeating it again, because I think he played quite well yesterday.
Oh, Barry Dan was very good yesterday, and a lot of people surprised, as you said earlier on, why he was substituted, but look, that's another day's work. Tom Sullivan and Jason Foley in defence were quite good. Tom kicked 2 great points. His Thomas Tom, and he's able to get up and he seems to be so comfortable on the ball. Jason Foley, he was on Shane Welsh for the biggest part of the game. You know, he nullified him. I think he's turned out to be a really good fullback.
Gavin White really is giving us
and he let him know very early that he was on the field. I mean, the very first ball that went into Shane Walsh,
that's right.
A North Kerry man arrived late. He do regularly at cornerbacks.
I think the problem with our defence at the moment is we're marking space. No, there's no one marking the player. We're marking space, and so myself and John are running towards Donal to mark him, but there's no one watching who's going over our head then. So it's just small things like that.
I think as well, just an observation, Tyg Morley, he held back last year and he stayed in on the D. This year in the league he seems to be going forward a bit more, leaving a gap behind. Maybe that's tactical, and
our team's pulling him.
Our team's pulling him. That's right. Look, Barry Dan was very good in the middle field. I thought Paddy Clifford had a lot of energy yesterday. You know, he picked up a lot of ball around that back line. Could have got a goal or two, kicked 2 points. You know,
so there is green shoots there, isn't there?
There's no doubt about it. Like, you know, there's no doubt. I think the rest of the forwards, it's not happening at the moment, and it will happen, because I think the work will
conditions as well. Does that play a bit in how we set up? I mean, we're a light-footed team that like good ground, maybe good horses.
Football.
Yeah, you know, and the ball moves and we can move quicker. But I mean, yesterday the conditions, you know, I mean, there was a lot of slipping around the place, and if you didn't, I suppose, know where you were going, you were falling, the ball was going around. Does that pay any attention to how we play?
Probably does. Like, I was looking at the Dublin and Louth game on the TV, and you'd be kind of saying, geez, if David Clifford was in that pitch today, to know how good he'd be. It's very, like Croke Park, it probably is one of the fields where it's very hard to double and triple team players, and I think it'll probably suit us a bit more. But yeah, it's just that no, even yesterday Rory Murphy, Dylan Casey, no, for their outings.
Rory Murphy, I thought, was a fella that was taken off very quickly. I mean, he played 2 or 3 lovely kick passes in that gave us a bit of space, and he looked a bit of life about him.
Yeah, there's football in the likes of Rory and even Dylan. You could get something out of him.
Yeah, they're worthy of their place, and they're going to be knocking on the door come championship. Like Dara Moynihan came in, and his work rate, he brings a great work rate.
He's a buzz about him.
That's that work rate again, that nobody knows what it means, but you keep mentioning that work rate. Speaking of work, lads, you're well sponsored tonight, both of you. I don't know. The jacket myself. Ivan has a jacket on him. Come here, a couple more comments. I would give David a break for the Munster Championship. That's Pat in Killarney. Yeah, absolutely. 9 players from East Kerry board started yesterday. Ooh, here we go. I wonder, is that good? Plus 5 more on the bench. 9 and 5 is 14. They are the county champions, of course. I didn't do my sums as good as that listener during his sums, but I mean, 14 players from one club.
But we have said it here a few times that the players that Jack has inside, even the guys that weren't tugged out yesterday, are probably what the best are in the county. You know, so you can turn it up and kick it around whatever way you want. I don't think there's much more out there that Jack hasn't behind in corners that he can be picking from. Whether he's picking the right fellas, that's another thing. But I think what he has back there is the best of what we have.
To be fair, I didn't hear anybody criticising the management of the players through this league campaign.
No.
We won in All Ireland. You know, Jack, like Liam said, there's no player out there that we could say this minute should be inside.
Or shouldn't be in there.
In fairness, which is even more important. And in fairness, I think that, you know, we all know that you win in All Ireland, difficult to come back straight away, and I think that it is a work in progress.
Speaking of works in progress, the Kerry Supporters Club, I mean, they're a fantastic group. They certainly enjoyed the whole trip all over the place. But one man, I suppose more than most, of course, John Creedon, I better wish him happy birthday. One with a 0 in it, that's what they say here in Radio Kerry. He had a bit of a party last week, I heard, below in the race course, and Bros got invited, but I don't think we got no invitation.
Our invitation must be in the post, is it?
Yeah. And we love going to the top of Croom and everything and talking about Kilgarvan people. But Leanne Ryan out there, Gillian Gentleman, or Gentlewoman sometimes as she's known out there, she's more of a hurler, has she? Ballyheigan, Kilmiley roots and the whole lot. Linda Ryan, Orla Kine, of course, DJ Downey, they all wish him the very best and very happy birthday, and that's from all the Kerry supporters.
It's a tough gang there now.
I tell you one thing, if we had them in here for one night,
was thrown into the middle of it there as well, Kit Ryan, it would have been good.
I probably left off the list, and I'll be shot for that.
They travel up and down the country, that gang there now.
Fantastic supporters.
And you know, I mean, at the end of the day, they are the supporters, aren't they? I mean, like, it's alright for some more of us to be looking for tickets for the All Ireland. We didn't go up, I didn't go up to Galway yesterday with basketball. Basketball's over now anyway. One very strange decision made on the sideline yesterday. Barry Dan was having a great game, scored 2 excellent points from play. I couldn't believe my eyes. when I saw him being called ashore. What was that about? Yeah, and I could add another 4 of those comments, all very similar.
And blaming the GPS.
And we were blaming he ran out of diesel. I don't think he ran out of diesel, to be honest with you. A long way back to Dingle. A man who has seemed to have filled up the tank again, Noel Broderick, has this comment. What does the panel think of Cluxton reappearing for Dublin? And would we not try to get David Moore back to sit on the bench as an option now that the season is so short? So if there's life in Cluxton 41, if you're out there, David Moore, and you have no right to retire, you're far too young altogether. The Cluxton comeback, I mean, my take on it was very funny yesterday, because here's Dublin doing their best to get back into Division 1, and Cluxton arrives at the very last game of the season, and he takes the limelight and nothing about the game itself. A strange comeback, or was it always on?
Jesus, if I was Jim, or if I was Desi, I'd be delighted to have him back, because in the dressing rooms alone you mightn't see him starting in any game.
But what message is that sending to young goalkeepers all across Dublin? I mean, this guy hasn't played for Dublin in a while. I mean, he walks back on.
He's 8 All-Ireland medals.
But sure, John Kennedy, how many of you?
So I'd say it's more of a kind of bring back into the dressing rooms to have a solid voice around there. It'd be just like bringing Kieran Donaghy, these guys into the dressing room. Or Aidan O'Mahony. They're solid guys. So I don't think it'll do Dublin any harm whatsoever.
At that level, any age you can get, and look, Cluxton is an icon in Dublin, and hugely respected. And I wouldn't rule out he'd be between the 6 before the year, being honest with you.
Yeah. I reckon he'll be the next Dublin manager. I don't think he'll ever get in play for Dublin, but he could take over, putting him into the dressing room. Yeah, absolutely. Now, after the break, we have no Dan Carney tonight with us about ladies football, but we will keep the boys on with us. And we will talk about 1984, 1985. Liam probably hardly remembers
that. For that.
You stay there, Liam, you might learn something as well. But what I want to do actually, John Kennedy, is that we won the All-Ireland 1984.
Yep.
And we had an awful bad league campaign. Well, not all your fault, obviously, but he was second top scorer in the league.
He passed to no one. Ambrose always said that about
Ambrose better stay listening to it. I have a bit of stats on him. I have a bit of stats on Ambrose. But what I want to get at is I want to discuss it, because we've been here before. I mean, everybody talks about Mick O'Dwyer and everything was won, but we had great championships and we had poor leagues. And we still won the championship, and that's what I'm trying to get onto. Now we're looking back on the aftermath of the Kerry Senior Footballers League campaign. Didn't make it to the league final. 3 wins, all at home, of course. And I want to bring people back. Some people will I suppose, for some people this will be just like yesterday. For more people, they'll probably have to go into the history books. But John, in 1984, you won that All-Ireland. You won the league, you won the Centenary Cup or whatever it was, and you won everything all around before you. How did you get on the league?
The league was always tough done, because...
Oh, that's not the answer. No,
because it was a different format.
That's not the doll. No, how would you get on the league?
Not great.
Not great. He almost got relegated.
Almost.
Will I tell you how he almost got relegated? You opened to Kildare, and did you win or lose?
Lost.
Good man.
Up in a tie, I think.
But that's usually about a month after the All-Ireland final.
That doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You went to Armagh, win or lose?
Lost in Armagh.
That's 2 defeats now after winning the All-Ireland a month ago. Like,
heads are going to start rolling.
Both away. So you see where I'm going from here. Then you brought Galway to Listowel, of all places.
One there, it's or a draw, was it?
A draw. Fair play to you. You've got a draw. So you've 1 point now out of 6. Things are going well. And then you brought Meads down to Tralee. 1 in Tralee. Yeah. Poor old Mead were beat. And then the week before Christmas, can you imagine that? The week before Christmas, right? He travelled up to Cork to play in Páirc Uí Chaoimh against Cork. Win or lose? Lost. Sorry, we won against Cork above. Yeah, sure, you always won against Cork above. Yeah. 2-14 to 1-7, best game of the championship. Then you had to wait till February. You had a couple of weeks off then, of course, for the winter training. Christmas, winter training. Up you gone. Up to Omagh, should I say, Tyrone. Beat Tyrone. You think so? I think we did. I'm not sure which years now. I know we beat him up there once anyhow. We beat him up there once. Well, he didn't beat him up there that time anyway, because it ended in a draw. It was a draw, yeah. Yeah, Tyrone got a draw. And then came down to Fitzgerald Stadium, and we had a home record. Of course, you'd won and drawn your home games. How'd you get on? 1. You think so?
Probably lost. So.
You lost.
Give us a motion.
You lost. And you could have been relegated, but you weren't because you survived on scoring difference, which is quite amazing. So what I'm trying to get to is that we've kind of been here before. And that's the team from 84, and you went on, of course, to win 85 and 86. What happened between that league campaign, which wasn't great, and the championship? Can you remember?
I suppose the first thing, Donal, is regardless what era you're in, the championship is number one in Kerry. Sam Maguire, whether it is Mick Dwyer or Jack O'Connor, whoever it is. You know, the league is always trying to keep your Division 1 status is important. You're the Division 1 teams coming to Tralee Killarney. And that time no more than now, when you win the All-Ireland, you know, obviously it's not, you can't keep it going, it's not a switch. So there's a downtime and then there's an uptime, and I think that's exactly where we're at the moment. It's been proved in both hurling and football over the last number of years. Win the All-Ireland, there's a dip, unless you're professional. And you know, that's the way it was, and Kerry came back and they won in 85 and again in 86. But one league final, well, during my time we were there and we were well beaten by Dublin. So I think it gives you an indication of what it was about. In Mick Dwyer's time, Sam Maguire was number one, and his record proves that.
Mm-hmm. So Mick was about winning the All-Ireland,
yes,
every cost in any
keeping
cost.
Division 1.
Yeah. That time too, of course, it was about introducing or finding a lot of new players. I presume there wasn't the training regime that there is now, that you'd have to train for a year before you might even sit on the bench to get a time. If I said Tommy Doyle, Ambrose Donovan, Paddy Shea and Tom Spillane played every one of those league games, is that the kind of structure where you lay down players that were kind of strong and you brought in newer players around them?
Yeah, there was quite a number of guys that were brought in for every league campaign. They were brought in for training games as well, and kept on to make it competitive, because like any fella that got a call, no more than now, if you get a call to go into Kerry training or to go into the squad, sure, you'd run in, like, you know. Tis an ambition of every young fella to get in there. And I suppose the Wire, look, any player that showed in a county championship at the time, or even divisional championship, they were brought in and given a chance, and it kept a bite and it kept a freshness. And then when it came to championship, obviously he picked his 21 for the panel that time, and you had a training panel at 30.
Okay, well, we put him to the test, Liam, to see does he remember anything about it really. I'm going to call out a couple of players that played in some of those games. I mean, as I said, Tommy Doyle, Ambrose and Paddy and Tom, they played in 7. John Kennedy, Mike McAuliffe, Timmy Dowd, Ger Power, Mick Spillane, Sean Walsh, he played 6. But some of the guys that came in at that stage, Liam Hartnett, where was he from?
He was in Crokes, good cornerback.
Good cornerback, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Played for a long time, Liam, actually.
He did, yeah.
Well, you're waking up now, are you? Willie O'Connor.
Willie down from Castleisle, a great forward.
An uncle of mine.
Yeah.
An uncle of yours?
An uncle, yeah.
Well, you go home and tell your uncle tonight that he came as a sub against Down, he scored a point, and again that you didn't win in Fitzgerald Stadium. Dennis Kennelly.
Dennis Kennelly was St. Sinnans. He was a great minor, great forward as well for Field Rangers and St. Sinnans.
There you go. Tom Lynch.
Tom Lynch was keeper from Desmond's.
Is he my referee in basketball?
That's the Tom Lynch, yeah. He was with Kearns Rally, isn't he?
Yeah. Great
well
keeper.
done, Tom.
Yeah.
I must mention that to him when I see him next time. Tom O'Connell.
Tom O'Connell is another St. Sinnans. Came through the Field Rangers that time as well. Great player.
And
great
John
engine.
Stack.
Johnny Stack was the former chairman of the North Kerry board from my van.
My van, absolutely. My van and Sinnans, good God. Donny Hartnett.
Beaufort.
Absolutely, we might talk to the gang about him later on. Davy Keane.
Davy Keane was Kearns O'Reilly's.
Well done. Sean Liston.
Sean was Bomber's brother in Ballybunham.
No, Ger Lynch, you better know Ger Lynch.
Ger to be a fantastic
Ger was Ger.
One of the great wing backs.
Absolutely, from Valencia. John Healy.
John Healy was Castle Gregory.
Yeah.
He was a big tall guy. He played in the forwards. Yeah.
He played a lot of games. He played 4 games. John Higgins.
John Higgins was Mitchell's. He was
Mitchell's,
part of the
right,
panel for 84, 5 and 6. You know, a great engine and a great guy in training, and a great footballer.
And of course you'll get no pass on Charlie Nelligan or Jack O'Shea. Dermot O'Donoghue, that might be a surprising one for some of our younger listeners.
Legion.
James's father.
Absolutely, yeah.
He was unlucky. He broke his hand coming up to the Munster final in 84. He was captain.
Very stylish footballer, isn't he?
Great left leg, yeah. Great player.
Ambrose doesn't want that story out there, like.
No, not really.
No. Ambrose wouldn't be.
He didn't. Ambrose nominated as captain then.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
That would be a fantastic
right,
captain as well,
yeah. Guys, look, we'll wind it down. The league, I suppose, look, we're going to file it under a lot of work to do.
Job done.
You know, we survived, we didn't get relegated. Couple of boys that came in from the outside and how did they perform? And we mentioned Rory Murphy, and we mentioned, I suppose, Darragh Roche before he picked up his injury, and Stephen Ockenber, and of course Barry Dan as well. Are they kind of the players? Donal Sullivan maybe as well?
Tony Brosnan, I suppose, to be one of those now as well that would be putting his hand up for a starting place come championship. Yeah, so Jack has unearthed players and given players time to put their hands up for a jersey, but. I suppose when we were sitting here, we were hoping that other fellas, or maybe they might put their hand up. Are you
disappointed that we didn't get any more?
Not disappointed. I just thought maybe out of some of the fellas that we were there that we didn't get more out of. That kind of a way. But look, we have, like I said, league done and dusted now. Championship, ground hardening. The evenings getting longer. Hopefully we'll be. I suppose the first box to tick is to win the Munster title, and that'll be the first thing that Jack will be, and we'll worry about Sam Maguire after that. Then.
Last comment, hi lads, listening to the show down here in Waterford. Overall, it's been a poor league from Kerry. The backs aren't as solid as last year. I'm not convinced by them this year. Great show as always, and that's from a Waterford listener. Is Waterford are tipping in the championship? We really should be thinking further, should we, John?
Munster is, Tipperary relegated, Limerick relegated, Clare relegated. Like it's not good.
We were nearly relegated.
It's not good.
Cork didn't get promoted.
A good result yesterday, but
still only finished third, did they?
Yeah, I'd be hoping they'd come up. They secured the Sam Maguire status, which was it's important. But Munster football is not in a good position. We will be getting to Munster final, no doubt.
There you go. We will get into a Munster final, no doubt. We won't record that and play it back in time, just in case. Guys, thanks very much. We'll see you in about 4 weeks' time, which is an awful long time, I suppose, to do without you. But thanks very much for the league campaign.
We're going on our summer holidays now. Do a summer camp.
Off we go to Portugal, guys, and we'll take a break.